So in the last video I uploaded, the one about Tayutama kissing my deity, I only ended up going over the common route. This, to me, was a problem because I spent the entire time I was reading every route of that visual novel taking notes. In the end, I had about 17 pages of notes going over every route, every choice, every single thing in the visual novel, and in totality, I barely used a fraction of those notes. So, to make up for this to myself, when I was recording the last video, I ended up going on a sort of tirade, in a sense, where I ranked and talked about the merits of every route in Tayutama, going over the pros, cons, and, just really solidifying my opinions, thoughts, and everything about the visual novel and its routes as a whole. So that's what this video is going to be, and I hope you all enjoy. It was kind of fun to do a little thing like this, and I'll probably say it again at the end, but give some feedback if you all would like this style of content in the future. Anyways, awkwardly segue into whatever was going on past me, as I'm going to rank the routes from worst to best, going over the pros and cons of each. Also, I devoted so much time to this video. It's July 20th as of making this. I was supposed to be deep into making the next Tsubihime part right now, but here I am, still in the middle of making this video. So, plans don't always work out when you got a full-time job, I guess. As a result, for the rest of this, we're going off the cuff. I'm reading from a script right now, but there will be no script past this point, so if I sound more flabby with my words, might be. Anywho, bottom rank, the worst route, Amarie. This route had a really bad case of, again, I've only read 3 visual novels in my life, apparently, so had a really bad case of the CL Tsukihime route. Not the remake, but the original. You know, where, like, most of the story was copy-pasted, and everyone acted like it was this new grand story, but really, if you look beyond the surface, it's just the same shit again. Amarie's route was the second one I read after Mashiro's, and it still remained the worst. It made me worry initially that the rest of the routes were just going to be the same tired bullshit where nothing ever changes, but of course that wasn't the case because it's just Amarie's route. Now, the writers do try to make up for this by having some kinky as eroge scenes, like, she's probably the only one that gets into, like, roleplay or using toys or whatnot, just some real freaky shit. I guess it's described in the story as being a byproduct of them knowing each other for so long, right? But it still is a lousy price to pay for having the same story again for 90% of it. Made it a quick read. I was fucking fiending on that control button, let me tell you. But it still makes it a lousy route, Everything's the same up until the very end of the story, when Yuri's like, well, we've dealt with the 3 mightiest. I've got my loving childhood best friend that I'm dating now. I'll go to college for bikes. Then, out of nowhere, Mashiro is like, so I'm gonna go back into that rock. Come on, everybody. She takes all the Tayutai and they go back into a rock for 500 years. Amarie's left with, like, some spirit magic from the one Tayutai. The Gooner one. Here's the CG. It's creepy. It's funny. Dude's reminding me of Michael Roa from Tsukihime, but, like, she's left with, like, a souvenir from him, and that's the ending of the story. I like childhood best friends usually, but, like, this was such a poor implementation of the trope. Like, Yuri and Amarie knew each other as kids. They split up for a bit. Yuri was really hurt by this. They have a whole arc reconciling how he felt like a little cuck when he was younger, right? A whole arc just about Yuri being sad that he felt like a cuck. So he was in love with Amarie. He was so in love. This is right as they entered middle school, right? She f***s off for a bit because she's scared of commitment. She doesn't want to be with him. Oh no. She wants to go explore new things. They eventually reconnect. It's a tried and true story. You've heard it time and time again. And it would be nice if the story went past that point, but after the initial arc with Amarie and I forget his name, and the dragon dude, after that initial arc, nothing's done with her character. It's just the same Mashiro scenes again. It's just the same plot beats again. It's bad. It sucks. I don't like it. You know, had some fun concepts, but wasn't the best. Next in line, we have Mashiro. Now, Mashiro's route, unlike Amarie's, was quite good. You'll notice I spoke very glowing of it in the aforementioned video you just watched. And this is for multiple reasons. Mashiro's route, first of all, she's a wolf girl. I am still very weak to wolf girls. And Mashiro's route, right, it's basically just the shit I talked about in the video, to be completely honest. You know, you can take all the themings I talked about, how it's tying into the whole coexistence thing. You know, every one of the three mightiest and one of the other heroines, like Amarie and the dragon dude, Hui and Yumina, and Nui and Mifuyu, each heroine gets paired with a Tayutai, and in a sense, I guess Yuri is also paired with Mashiro, so everyone's paired with a Tayutai, and they learn to overcome their own differences, right? Like, they work together. Nui and Mifuyu kind of learn how to nurture one another. Amarie and Dragon Bitch, she's kind of just manipulating him the whole time, but it's fine. And then Hui, teaches Yumina to be strong and speak for herself and be tough. It's good. It's good. That all plays into the theming of Mashiro's route. Mashiro's route, of course, by virtue of being Mashiro, all of those scenes which do occur in other routes are just enhanced here, you know what I mean? Then there's the ending of Mashiro's route, which really makes it tied with the next one for me, if I'm being honest, because her ending was really damn good. Originally, the thumbnail for this video actually was going to be the CG of the ending, where the city off in the distance is still blurry. I was going to put a photo of Epstein there, but I decided the HRT one was way funnier. But in this ending, Yuri basically does what Mashiro did at the beginning. He takes his own power, turns it against himself, and is able to reincarnate into a new being. You know, Mashiro reached out a hand at the beginning of the story, and then at the end of the story, Yuri takes it, and that shit was beautiful. I really can't believe I didn't mention this when I was recording, but one of the things that is vital, the main reason Yuri had to reincarnate into his new form, was because his was literally killing Marshmallow. Mashiro. his divine aura, which he was pouring into her every night, was like killing her inside, because even though she had reincarnated, it was still fucking up the Tayutai part of her. And this is important because, you know, there's some really impactful emotional moments where she's about to die and stuff, but like in the background, it's kind of like when Spider-Man killed Mary Jane with his radioactive but like played totally seriously, and it rides the line so well that I legitimately go back and forth on if it's just really funny or like legitimately impactful to the plot, because it's both. That CG where Yuri is holding a dead Mashiro, or a dying Mashiro, sorry, is really impactful. It's sweet. It was one of the most tender moments I've read in this visual novel. Then you remember it's because Yuri's is killing her, and it's really funny. It's really funny. Her route really is something special. Then they drive off on a motorcycle for 500 years, like in Final Fantasy VII, when Red 13 stumbles across the ruins of Midgar again, and you can't tell if civilizations, you know, finally just accepted nature back into their lives, or if things didn't work out. I assume in Tayutama things did work out, because the city there looks great. I wish our cities looked like that. If I could walk around, if a tree was growing through my window right now, I would prefer that, honestly. And someone please slam a tree through my house so it would look like Tayutama. I would appreciate that. Next route to rank, we got Mifuyu. I said it in the video, and I'm gonna say it again. This route is Tsukihime. I didn't say this in the video as to not accrue spoilers to those who have read Tsukihime, but Mifuyu's route is basically just the Arc-Away route from Tsukihime. And I'm not even joking, it's a tale about these two people from drastically different backgrounds who don't really intergel with each other, but like are still super interested in what each other do, you know? Mifuyu, one of the first scenes of her early on, she comes in, she looks at Yuri tinkering with this bike, and she gets a newfound interest in it. She wants to borrow all his books, and she wants to really get into what he's doing, and then Yuri's like, oh someone shares my special interest. They start bonding over it, and because of this, Yuri wants to like go over to her room and borrow books so he can learn what she's into, and even if he isn't into it himself, he's interested in the subjects because Mifuyu likes them, and it's such a sweet story. I have gallons of notes just gushing about how sugary sweet this story is, and you know, this is the one where Yuri's constantly going into flawless and gender bending all the time, so it's kind of like reading a Yuri romance novel, and because of that, it's great. There's even a CG at one point. We'll get as to why it looks like this later. You know if you've read this, right? You're not just listening to me, right? You've read this visual novel? You're not listening to my spoiler ramble, right? But this CG has Femme Yuri in it, Yaoi, as I'm gonna call her. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. This route was so good, so nice. And this one has by far like the longest slice of life scenes, and I think it's to really play up the sentimental factor. Like, if I go back and count it, I think more of the story is spent just on character interactions as opposed to like the same tried and true story, which I guess makes a lick of sense. As you look at the order the girls appear on the gallery, I forget I can edit a green screen now. If you look at that order, right, it goes Mashiro, Amarie, Yumina, Mifuyu. So I guess if the VN intend you to read Mifuyu last, that does make a lick of sense, as it by far does have the most original content to it. You know what I mean? But there's a point in the middle of the route that made me have an oh my god, it's so over moment, because Tayutama, I haven't gotten into this before, but Tayutama, I didn't have a place to mention this in the video, but Tayutama's a little weird about women. Just a little spooky weird about it. In Mashiro's route, I could kind of write it off, right? I could kind of write it off as Mashiro being old-fashioned, you know, she brings in her older views about marriage, and then Yuri comes in with his newer views, though he still obviously has some hang-ups because he's male. He still has some, like, embedded misogyny, like, oh my god, women can't do this. Of course, he's not an Miyashiro. He's not like, oh my fucking god, this super strong knight who's hot, can't protect me because she's a girl. I hate women. He's not like that, no, but like he still has some hang-ups about sex and whatnot. Yuri is really weird about sex, now that I think about it. But I had my it's so over moment because Tayutama has many, many scenes of Yuri being like, I've always hated this thing in between my legs. You know, the beastly inner urge of males to like, you know, it's really heavy on that stuff early on, and like I still don't know if it's meaning to do this from the perspective of like, you know, Yuri has these predilections and these beliefs, but they aren't true, because there is stuff in the visual novel that directly counteracts this, right? Like there's many moments where later in this very route, Mifuyu's like, no, I have the same urges too. I just couldn't recognize them at the time, but I definitely have that beast in me. You know, it is woke in that regards, but like early on, it threw me for a loop, especially in this route. This was like the skill check, because in the middle of the story, you know, Yuri has been gender bending so often. He's using that little magical magmatama, whatever the it's called. He's using that thing. He's constantly right? And as a result, Mashiro says some shit like, I don't know, dude, like, the female energy, like, you know, if you use it too much, your libido's gonna go crazy, because, like, you know, it's doing something to your energy. And of course, what this results in is, as I put it in the video, Yuri having an inversion impulse moment where he's like, he gets touched a singular time by Mifuyu, and he's like, oh, he's got, he goes crazy with it, right? He goes crazy with it. Mifuyu eventually ties him down and gives him a foot job to calm him down. They have sex, and it's really, it's quite painful to read. I'll say that much. It's no euphoria in how it's written. And then the whole story from that point on is about Yuri being like, fuck, what did I do? Why did I gender bend so much, dude? What have I done to myself? And he goes like on this big depressive spiral. He gets real sad about it for a long time. Mifuyu's not talking to him because she's also sad. And eventually they do reconcile because, again, this is just the arc later out from Tsukihime. Tonoshiki, in that story, did the exact same thing. He got touched by Arcuate. He was like, oh, I'm having an inversion impulse right now. I gotta... he did that. He literally did that. And then he goes on a big depressive spurt, and they reconnect later, and their love's even stronger than ever. It's the same story, which is why it's pretty good. Mifuyu's route, solid. And then the ending of the story, again, was really fun because it did what Love Extra should have done to elucidate the polarities of what I'm talking about and how these two are similar. In the ending of this route, Mifuyu and Yuri want to get married and live their lives together, but they can't because Mifuyu comes from a very prestigious family. It's the whole nobility shtick where you can't marry a commoner because, commoners are stinky and gross, and why would we ever associate with the proles? It's the whole shit rigmarole you've heard before. Again, just feel the need to clarify these things. And in the ending of Love Extra, specifically the Maya route, I knew I made allusions to this in the video proper where I compared Mifuyu to Maya, but just again to clarify, I am specifically talking about the ending of the Maya route, which, was literally the plot to Shrek, and I fucking hate Love, dude. Yeah, it's Shrek. It's Shrek. It's the ending of Shrek. By which I mean, Takaru steals Maya away. I think there's a dragon at some point. I don't really remember it all that well. But in this, they did what Love should have done. They get Mifuyu and Yuri meet at the Mito residence. And Mifuyu just starts slamming down books and is like, as you can see, father, Yuri is a noble. She facts and logics her father into accepting their marriage, and it turns out all the information's fabricated, but the father bought it anyway because he's not going to look into that. And it's really funny. It's really cool. It was a really funny ending. It was solid. It was impactful. It took the story. This story was literally like, whoa, what's going on? Oh, it's Tsukihime. Oh, I like it. And it ended really strong. Mifuyu's route was good. It made me realize Tayutama isn't weird about women. It's just like, maybe it's worded weird. Maybe it's worded a little off sometimes, but, our characters have these certain inherent biases and beliefs, and they get broken down as the story goes on. Tayutama, its plot, challenges the characters, and apparently challenges me too. I should have had faith in it when I was reading. I think I even have a note about that somewhere. But alas, while Mifuyu's route was good, it does not hold a candle to the creme de la creme, the je ne sais quoi, the peakest of the peaks, Yumina's route. And you've heard me in the video go on about this a little bit. The video proper, you just watched it. You heard me go on about this for a little bit. Yumina's route is, in a sense, divine. It is, in a sense, one of the best stories I've ever read. It's everything I wished Oriyama would be. It's everything I wished Era Manga Sensei would be. It's everything I wished all of these incestuous stories would be. The only thing at fault with it is that they are not blood related. A fact that still brings me great pain to admit. But we live, we learn, we strive, we survive. They were raised from birth. It's basically the same thing. We're just skirting some legal shit, baby. Anyways, in this route, there's a scene, multiple scenes, of Yuri just talking to Senku, and Senku's like, dude, you talk about your sister a lot. You're not gonna f*** her, are you? And my god, the cinema, the prose, the way this had me just right here the whole time. And Yuri's like, Yumina, no, it's my sister, dude. I just care about her in a brotherly sense. Of course. That's all there is to it. He says this, he states it over and over again like a mantra in his head again and again and again. But as things happen and the story progressed, he finds himself not interested in any other woman. He finds himself at a loss, right, for romantic interest in any of these other heathens, these wenches, these whores. He can't do it. He doesn't want to do it. And he starts to realize in his heart of hearts, I think I'm in love with my little sister. And it's the realest thing ever. He feels these urges. He feels them building up. He thinks Yumina, after their scant interactions, might even start to feel them too. There's an initial arc. It's the first one is the Ho-Oh arc, the one with birds and he slams it into the cool. We're ignoring all of that because it pales in comparison to the real cool here, right? Okay, so I need to reorient myself. Just talking about this gets me a little woozy, you know? But Yumina saves Yuri from his fall after he fucking falls off his giant flying motorcycle, right? Saves him from his fall, and because she has the power to fly from the bird, obviously, were you not paying attention? But they have a little bonding moment after that, and in the middle of the night when Yuri's up fixing his bike because it's a total wreck, and he loves that thing dearly, he puts his heart and soul into it. My boy loves bikes. Now, as he's spending his time fixing the bike the next night, who should knock on his door but Yumina? Yumina pulls up, knocks on the door, says, hello. And she wants to help fix his bike. Now, of course, Yuri, it's the middle of the night. He assumes he's dreaming, so he starts saying things he normally wouldn't, especially as Yumina picks him up and they go flying through the night sky, a power she again has because of that bird she saved. They start flying through the night sky, and he's like, damn, this must be a dream. That means I get to say, that means I'll be true to myself. I love you. And Yumina thinking innocently like, oh, I love you too, bro. So innocently, so playfully, so beautiful. This trend would continue for a couple of nights. Eventually, Yuri realizes he's not dreaming, but is indeed real. He's spending time with his sister every night. He's gotten acclimated to this Tayutama nonsense, right? And eventually, I talked about this in the video, but it's a scene so sweet, so divine, so passionate. Yuri, in a moment, a lapse of mental faculties, gets close to his dear beloved sister and kisses her. And immediately, Yumina's like, oh, bye. And she leaves from the story. She leaves from the ground, leaving Yuri, as I so eloquently put earlier in the video, to go. They also don't talk for a couple of days. Eventually they reconcile. They start spending their nights together again. The bike is fixed, all is well, and they start having certain relations. Relations they have to spend the rest of the story hiding from other people. And the way they skirt about it in the story multiple times over is... it's beautiful, you know? It's some beautiful stuff. If I didn't, cover my water lines right now, let me tell you, I'd be crying. It's such a beautiful tale. And the eroge scenes. This is the one. This is the route. With self-cest, the little bit of bondage, the little bit of everything. They go to the top of a clock tower and have unprotected. And then, in the ending of the story, Yumina's pregnant. And it's at this point I realized this was a divine piece of fiction. Truly a beautiful moment. Because not only did this man date his sister, fuck his sister, marry his sister, he had a child with his sister. You know what story hasn't done that? Orihime. You know what story hasn't done that? Aramanga Sensei. You know what story hasn't done that? Tsukihime. You know what story hasn't done that? Tsubahibi wasn't even so brave enough to go there. Truly, Tayutama saved my life, as you can very well tell. It was a good story. It was a good show. That's why Yumina's route was my favorite. In the end credits, everyone has accepted their marriage. Even their father is like, you sly dog, how do you think you and your mother met? Me and your mother met. You and your mother too, maybe. Maybe in a doujin. Anyways, no, that part's not real. But in the ending, it's kind of like a Heaven's Feel-esque ending where everyone's watching the sakura blossoms fall. Everyone's celebrating the birth of the child. It's really wholesome shit. And Yuri takes over the shrine and has Yumina there with him the whole time. So Tai are also there and living in coexistence. It's truly like the best ending of the game. Of the story. It saved my life. It changed my life. Those hack light novel authors could never. Thank you for watching whatever the fuck that was. If you would like me to do more reaction style content like I just did in the future, by which I mean me taking a piece of work, taking a medium or whatever, a thingy-mabib, and reacting to it, just kind of giving my bare thoughts, ranking it. If you would like more content like that in the future, let me know. It's fun to do, and it doesn't take a bajillion hours like the actual videos I make. I could do it maybe like in between stuff. Maybe YouTube would be happier with me algorithm-wise. That's only if you guys would like it. So let me know. I don't know how much of that was a bit, how much of that came from the heart, honestly. Whatever's more satisfying for you, dear viewer. Whatever's more satisfying for you. If you haven't done it before, you're gonna do it now. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell button, and go to my Patreon, which has a podcast and early videos uncensored. There's one up there right now. And after that, after you watch that one, the next video on this channel is probably going to be something. Anyways, have a great night, y'all. It is 2 in the morning, and I have work in 3 hours.